So I'll just share my presentation and start.
Mr. Bhandari, would you like to take questions at the end or as you go along?
I think we'll do it at the end. It's a short presentation of about 25 minutes, and then we can take the questions at the end.
Right. So I would encourage all of you to make the most of this session. And once it's over, please ask all the questions you can. Of course, you'll get a chance to interact with them even offline, but make the most of it today so that everybody learns from every question which is asked. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for this opportunity, Chinu and Arun and Tai. And I would talk about business model innovation. So, in more than 20 years of my entrepreneurship and having invested in a lot of startups across the globe, including India, and having seen a lot of business models, what I have come to understand is that it is much more important to have a unique business model, a business model which differentiates you. Product innovation or technology innovation don't take you too far, and it is actually the business model innovation. And this is what I want to talk about today, both in terms of a general, framework of how different business models can be there in a certain domain, and then talk about certain companies which have modified themselves or pivoted themselves in the last few weeks or few months because of COVID. So they'll have examples of how things need to change, in different scenarios. These are some photographs, if you can see, and can anyone guess what is common in all of these? I'll show the pictures again. Anything common that you know in all of these? Okay, because I think all of them are on mute. So I'll tell you what these are. All these are pictures of products which have been made by 3D printing. This is a 3D printed, fashion fabric. This is the first 3D printed pill which has been approved in the US. This is a 3D printed heart using actual tissue. This is a 3D printed car which can actually drive quite fast. These are all 3D printed homes. The one on the left that you see is actually made in India. The left top one. So these are all. This is from Hershey's 3D chocolate made from 3D printer. 3D printers have come in, and become, known to everyone because of certain components of ventilators that were made using 3D printers. So these are some examples. On the right is a critical component of a 3D printer. On the left is a critical component of a ventilator, and on the left is a complete ventilator made only by 3D printing. So 3D printing is actually going to transform our lives. It is already doing so. Here you see, you have an artificial liver, you have a drone which is 3D printed, completely 3D printed. Now, there are specialized product-based business models where you take a particular domain and specialize in creating products for that using 3D print. So you have prosthesis, foot and prosthetics arms being made by 3D print. You have products which are made for entertainment and for decoration and things like that. You have organs which are being produced by 3D print. 3D print has the characteristic that you can print very fine, complicated geometric figures, and there will be uses that I'll tell you about as we go along. You can actually print, you can design and print your own candy. All these are also available in India. So this is not something which is just at the scientific level or at the research level. These are all products which are available for us to use. You have 3D printed furniture. You on the right hand side, you also see how you can actually make connections to build furniture without any screws. So you have customized glasses. You can give your size and it will 3D print. So the glass is not 3D printed. The frame is 3D printed. very interesting application. So GE, which makes the turbo engines for all aircrafts, they use 3D printer to design. So this new engine, one third of the parts are 3D printed. What is more interesting is that you have parts which will intertwine, and you will need to make all those small parts. In a 3D print, all those can be made together. So that out of these complicated structure, 855 parts were converted into 12 parts, so that the assembling is easy, everything is easy. So these are huge advantages that 3D print gives you. You have a human tissue being printed. So the first mice with a 3D printed ovary has already given birth to a child. This is all happening, and this is not at just experimental stage. So 3D printer is transforming lives across the globe in various domains. So this is in the ear, when you have to put in the hearing aid, it has to be customized for the ear. So there is a small probe which is there, which basically measures the size of the inner ear, and then you can 3D print the casing of the hearing aids. Food is being 3D printed. So this company prints food. You get the packets, and then you can print whatever shape, size you want, and then you can eat it. First 3D printer in space. They needed a specific kind of a wrench, and the design was sent. The 3D print was done, and that could basically open a certain kind of a valve. So 3D print is everywhere. But this is not my this is not what I want to talk about. So you have product innovations which are there, and then you have business models which work on certain specific needs, like the examples that you saw. But more interesting is what I want to talk about now is that you have, once you have a domain, so you have 3D print, you can build multiple businesses out of that, in which can cater to various services. So it's an ecosystem being built, correct? And when an ecosystem is built, various services can be available, and those churn out interesting business models. And according to me, innovative business model is more important than a innovative design or an innovative technology, because that can be replicated. But business models, once they become universal, once there is adoption, it is difficult to copy them. So now I'll talk about very interesting business models which have come out of the 3D printed ecosystem. So of course, one is companies which manufacture 3D printers, correct? So this is one company, Biobots, which manufactures 3D printers which print live tissue and engineering, biology, and other things. So there are multiple companies which make different types of 3D printers. Now there'll be lakhs of or millions of 3D printers across the world, and they will require the raw materials, which are plastics which go into 3D printing. So you have online stores which have come in, which basically can give you those supplies. So you have basically e-commerce coming in with with stores of 3D printed raw material, and that is a huge business which is growing. Then you require the software to operate the 3D printers. So there are specific companies. So the hardware companies are separate, and you have software companies which have come in. Like in computers, the computer is made by, let's say, Lenovo or Dell, and then you have software made by Microsoft and others. So here you have 3D modeling software that has come in. Then you have 3D operating systems that have come in, which can actually integrate the 3D printer to the app and other things. So you have companies which basically are building the operating system, like the DOS for Windows. You have operating system for 3D printers. There are companies which are selling a personal story. So you can have your so-called statues made in 3D print. So this dubing is basically is what does that, and very realistic pictures or sculptures of your own self, or whoever you want. On the right is a Japanese company, very interesting. You have pictures of your children after they are born to forever. What that this does is that every month, when the baby is the fetus is there in a pregnant woman, they take the sonography and they will make the statues out of it, or and those can be stored. So when the child grows, they can be shown that how they were at month 1 to month 7 to month 8. So very interesting business models that have come out. Now you have a lot of products which are made of 3D printers, and so you have marketplaces which sell 3D printers, not 3D printers, 3D products. And then you have what Shapeways also does is it has tied up with thousands of designers. So it's a collaborative marketplace where designers can put their designs. People can buy products which can be printed by various distributed manufacturers across the globe, and people can even send their designs to be printed. So it's a marketplace that has been built. Then there are, wherever there is a new technology that comes in, there is education that is required. So Instructables basically does courses on 3D printing. So that is a new business model that has come in of educating people on how to design, how to build, where to get what kind of product. There are multiple technologies in 3D printing. As we speak, there are about 16 different technologies or different types of 3D printers. So you need understanding of all those technologies, and so you have a business model in educational platform. This is a neat product that I like. So in a lot of campuses in US, they have this vending box where basically you upload your design through a Bluetooth, and it will print out and give you the product. So you want to give a gift to someone or whatever, it will just print out that product and give you in a few minutes. So you have different kinds of business models that have come out in one domain. All of them have come out in the last 2 to 3 years. Now, this is very interesting. Hundreds of thousands of people have, or companies have, their 3D printers, and they are lying idle. So this company, Zometry, basically connects those 3D printers, and if I have a requirement in Jaipur of a 3D printed product, it will tell me which is the nearest one. I can upload my file. It will then basically seamlessly transfer it to the company which has the 3D printer and basically send you the product. So it is integrating all the 3D printers across the world. This has 4,000 such manufacturers on its platform. There's another one called 3D Hub, which has 32,000 printing services across the world. And basically, it helps the printing services, it helps the consumer, it helps the designers, all of them integrate. So as you're seeing, multiple such services are coming out of the ecosystem. Amazon plans has a very unique service where what they are planning to do is to put the 3D printers in the trucks. So let's say you gave an order and the truck has started from their godown. By the time the truck reaches your house or your office, the product will be ready, and then they can deliver the product. So very, very unique concept of how 3D printing is happening. There is this company which worked with New Zealand Airways to basically build a platform where, if let's say there is a problem with any of the parts, and they are talking about parts in the cabin, correct? So sometimes a button of the seat is broken, or some screen is broken, or things like that. Now, typically that will require the aircraft to stop. The component will come. It will take, at least what they have claimed is, it takes 44 days for any component to come. What they did was that when the plane starts from X location, and we know that we land at Y city, by that time the closest printer there has already printed the part and is delivered at the aircraft. So again, very innovative service model that is there. Manufacturing as a service. So everything is becoming as a service. You have all kinds of products are basically becoming a service, and I'll talk about that later. So again, Shapeways does that. You send them any product requirement, and they will print it and send it to you. So it is, you don't need to own printers. You don't need to own designers. They have their designers, they have their printers, and they do manufacturing as a service. There is mass customization that is happening. So 3D printers helps in customizing a product. So on the right hand side, you have a company which basically will take the exact size of your foot, and will be able to print, shoes or sandals and courier them to you. So they are exactly to your size. They fit. The curvature of the sole is also as per your foot, which is unique. Every foot is unique, and actually you need the sole to be unique. On the left hand side is very interesting. You can actually print your faces. So these are 3D printed faces of people. You can put them in your drawing room or whatever you want to do. You can gift it. So very interesting products that are coming out. Uh, I think in medical science, 3D printers are being used everywhere. So you have, when you do knee replacement, basically the guiding system of the knees, the artificial knee, when it goes into the socket, it requires a guiding system. Those guiding systems are unique to each knee, and they can be easily made with a 3D printer. If somebody has, because of tobacco, they are, they have to get their mouth operated, and some of the bones are removed, then those can be 3D printed, the exact bone that is removed. So there's a company, what they do is, before the surgery is done, they will take out, they will do an MRI, get the whole, 3D visualization for the doctor. The doctor will operate on a plastic product that has come out from a 3D print, and what piece will be removed, because they know how much is bad, that is then 3D printed in titanium, and it can be directly replaced in the jaw. All this is not just theory. This is already happening. It is even happening in India. So these are various kinds of models. Then there are direct to consumer models. So basically transparent braces, or braces which are invisible. There are companies in US which will directly take your dimension through the software, using a probe that they'll give you, and then they'll make the 3D printed braces and email them to you. And every month a new brace will come. So in our company, this is Neuroequilibrium. We manufacture diagnostic products for ENT, neurology, etc., and diabetes. All our products are 3D printed. So what you see here is 3D printed. Our designers have done the designing of this, and our technology. This is embedded electronics. There is an embedded camera there. Various products that you see, and all these are 3D printed and assembled in our factory or our premises. If 3D printers could print 3D printers, then there is nothing that we would require in terms of manufacturing. Everything can be manufactured, because if you can print the printing machine, we would not need anything else to print. Now the important part of this slide is that there are so many business models that have come out from this ecosystem. You have equipment manufacturers, you have raw material superstores, you have softwares of different kind, you have equivalent to an AutoCAD, you have operating systems, you have systems which connect the printers, you have specialized product manufacturing, like we saw, like healthcare and others. You have different kinds of marketplaces, manufacturing as a service, collaborative manufacturing, distributed manufacturing. So 4,000 printers across the world, and they can be tapped into anywhere, anytime. You have educational platforms which are teaching this. So what is important is, when we make our product, we are very passionate about our product. Entrepreneurs are very passionate about their own product. What is important is to see why it will sell, who will be selling it to. It is not important that product innovation will take us too far. What is important is that if we do a business model innovation, if it is a different business model, a service business model that I'll talk about, then you will be able to scale up and take your product. So one of the things is that every product is becoming a service. So people buy cars now. Ola and Uber is ensuring that you actually don't need to buy a car. In US, more less and less people are buying cars because cars are available in all form. Besides Uber and Ola, there are other mechanisms where companies are giving you car for a month, and then next month another company can give you another car. So it is, every product will become a service. And I think this is very important for us entrepreneurs to understand, and especially after this COVID, you will see less and less people will own things. Shared economy was already there, and every product that you can think of will become a service. I'll give you some examples of products that we may not think could become a service, but they are becoming a service. So this is a very important slide which I want to emphasize on, that every product can be made into a service, and we should look at, because once we make a product into a service, it becomes hugely scalable. The world market opens to us, and we will see examples of those. So here I have listed a few companies where, because of COVID, they have changed their direction. On WhatsApp, you must be getting a lot of news of a lot of companies getting into sanitizers. So every company which was making alcohol or things like that, perfume, has got into making sanitizers. Every company that was into clothing or fashion has got into basically making masks and PPs. So those are those are in a way become standardized. Um, there are a few companies which I found were very interesting, and I'll talk about them. So CureFit, all of you know, CureFit basically had started, in the last 6 months, they had started gyms where people could go and do the gymming. There was an app you could, schedule a particular kind of a gym class. They were selling packages, and it was working fine. They had across almost all cities across India, they had opened their gyms. And suddenly COVID came in. So this is their website before COVID, where you can see that in Kumar Mangla, in Bangalore, they have a gym and so on. They would have gym across cities, and even in each city they would have multiple gyms that they'd open. And when COVID happened, all gyms are closed, and for near future, they don't expect the gyms to start. So now they have completely converted to an online model. All the classes are online, and this is the website that you can see. The whole, all their customers, they have migrated to an online model. The app has changed. The trainers have changed the way they were training, because they were doing it physically. So it's a great transformation, and it's a huge success. This was a company in US which basically was into car cleaning on demand. You can basically, they had an app, you book, and they will come and clean your car. And it's a reasonably successful company all across US. And now they have, because there is no car cleaning that is happening, they are now using the same kind of people and the same infrastructure, but they have got approvals, and now they are basically disinfecting offices, houses, and other things. So they have basically pivoted from a car cleaning company to a disinfected disinfection services, and they have scaled up very well. So these are the before and after. If you can see the right side. This was a company which would basically, it's very small boutique company which would do tours across UK and across other places, where you could go and do wine tasting. They will take small groups, and you do wine tasting, and then they will have festivals around it. Small groups and specialized people who would be going with them. So this is their website before that. And now, because those kind of programs are not possible, they have quickly built a package which will be delivered to you, which will have wines, which will have printable tasting notes. It has glass markers. So they have now doing a collaborative event where multiple people can actually be on a platform in their own homes and still do wine tasting and experience that that whole effect. Netflix, we all know, Netflix in April launched what is called Netflix Party, where basically you can synchronize your viewing with your friends, and basically you could be you could be exchanging notes, you could be commenting on this, and the viewing is happening simultaneously in your house, in your friend's house, and you can actually be in a group in different locations. So this has come out in April because of COVID. This is the last company that I want to talk about, Pathfinder. What they used to do was in factories, they had IoT or Internet of Things devices, which they would be fixing on certain key assets, and they could map those assets. So they could do facility tracking, they could map globally. So if, basically you send a product from here to US, your container could be tracked, where it is, how it is doing, all those kind of things what they were doing. Now after COVID, all these inspections and all had stopped, so they converted the products into a social distancing product. And this product, so if you are 100 people in your company, all of them are given that if two people come less than 2 meters distance, it will start beeping an alarm. And they have given this across large geographies and across large companies. So, they have multiple kinds of, you could put it on your belt, you could wear it, like a necklace and things like that. So again, these transformations have happened very quickly, as you see. So, the last few slides, I think what is important is that as entrepreneurs, we don't get fixated at a product that we are building. We need to see what problem we are solving. So we should sell we should solve the problem, not sell the product. And most people do not scale up because they are trying to sell a product that they think is good, not trying to solve a problem. I want to talk about, Jaipur, or Rajasthan. We have lots of handicraft. We have, blue pottery and other things. And we say, this product is not selling. We have carpets, correct? And these products are not selling. As I said, every product will become a service, correct? And we should think innovatively how we can do that. I'll tell you a few examples of companies which have done what we would think, like art. Art, we would think is to be owned, is to be put on our walls at home or offices. Now, this company, Sansa Art, what they do is they will basically take a subscription. So let's say they take a 1 year subscription. Every 6 months, they will come, they will replace all the paintings in your house or office and take new ones. They do it considering all the decor. So they will have photographs of your house. Their designers will design the decor and everything. What kind of art will fit into your house or office, and they will basically exchange them. Now, if you like something which you want, no, this I want for a year, they can keep that. So this is basically converting art into a service. This company has gone, Daylighted has gone even further, and they said that, you have a pool of art. So they have thousands of pieces of original art which they have digitized or made into photographs, and these they live stream into all, the customers that they have. So you have this lounge and you can see a painting there. That's a real painting, but is being beamed from the cloud servers. And you can want to change it every day, you may want to change it every month and things like that. So they are giving you a subscription. They have converted art into a subscription. You see here, it's a different cafe, different kinds of paintings are there. So we could have carpets as a service, we could have handicraft as a service. So people buy a handicraft and then they are stuck with it for life, correct? What if we could have every 6 months, curated, where all handicrafts in my house are basically replaced by a new set of handicrafts, and it becomes like a service. These are the models that will scale up and become huge or global. And that is what we need to relook at our businesses, relook at what is stuck, relook at our products, and try to build new innovative business models. So focusing on product innovation is not enough. We need innovative business models. Uh, that I would want all of you to read Steve Blank and Eric Ries. They have written a book on lean startup. Basically, 90% of the startups fail, and they none of them fail. You know, I have not come across a single startup which failed because I think Bhavna, I think your this thing is on. So we need to so I have not come across a single startup which failed because they could not produce the product that they had thought of. Every startup which wanted to produce a certain product could make that product, but they could not succeed because they could not find the initial set of customers or the business model that was profitable and scalable. So I think we need to look for the initial set of customers, we need to look for profitable business models and scalable business models. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Bhandari. That was indeed quite an eye-opener of the things which are happening around the world and how the business world is looking at opportunities. Let's open the platform to the participants. I'm sure that they have a lot of questions. I'm already seeing some messages coming in. Let's not have the messages. Bhaval, if you can please coordinate this and start the question round, please.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to ask any questions?
Shinu, meanwhile, if you have any comments or questions or observations, we can start with that by the time others warm up.
Yeah, but there's one thing I'd like to say to everybody, if I may, that first of all, no question is a bad question, stupid question, weird question, or out of context question. A question is a question, it's a query. And the whole purpose of having Mr. Bhandari on board is to have this time from him is so that whatever we see otherwise around us is obviously something that we are very used to. And sometimes somebody presents a picture to us of the world which is out of our world, we find difficulty in grasping the application or impact of that. Now, all of you, various stages of your ideas, and some of you are already, you've spent 2 or 3 years and you've gotten a market traction. But you need to remember one thing, that the idea or the execution plan that you started with 3 years ago, the scenario today may not be the same. And to be successful, you have to improvise upon your business model almost every year. You cannot work with the same business model year on year and expect to have a graph, upward graph of success. It is impossible, it is illogical. Not all of you may require 3D printing, but the idea was not to tell you that. The idea was that different things are happening in the world. Technology is just a tool. If anybody is in the food sector, do you really imagine that the concept of setting up a restaurant and catering to a limited set of people who can read your board and come to you, or come to you through the limited advertising, is the only business model possible? No. So you've got to really expand your thinking process, think out of the box. And even if you have a question which is unrelated to the presentation, but requires you to question your own business model and seek answers from Mr. Bhandari, now's your time. Please do that. Nishta Pandey, would you like to actually ask this question that I see on your chat?
Yeah, let me try to answer that. So her question is, do you think that in the current scenario, we should actually make a business model for a year, maybe? So Things are changing very fast. What we need to understand is that because of various new technologies that had come in, right? You have artificial intelligence, you have Internet of Things, you have 3D printer, and so on and so forth. A lot of businesses were actually getting disrupted before COVID came in. Uh, so out of the Fortune 1,000 companies, more than 100 companies were already on the verge of closure. Two things have happened after that. COVID has come in and the oil prices have come down to record low. All these will lead to multiple businesses going down, multiple failures happening. The situation is very fluid and we do not know, nobody can predict what will happen after 2 months. But what is important is we know that certain things will not happen very soon. People will keep social distancing. They will not go to malls. They will not go to restaurants. They will be not traveling as much as they were traveling. Vacations will not happen. Correct? Those things are known. Things may get worse or slightly better. That is a different scenario. So I think we all need to relook at our businesses, and this is a very good time to relook from scratch what we are trying to do, why we are trying to do it. And what is not important is to make business plans. So my whole talk was not on business plans, but on business model. A business model actually means who we are serving, why we are serving, what is the product that we are delivering, what is the service that we are delivering, what is the pricing that we are doing. So I think those are the questions or discussions that we should have internally with the team, now, because things are changing dramatically.
Sir, I just have one question, wherein I just want to ask that looking at the current scenario, uh, going online is the best option we have.
So even before COVID came in, going online was the obvious option for most businesses. Everything was getting converted to online, and more transactions were happening online. And it was because of multiple technologies that had come in. So because of Paytm and Google Pay and others being there, the transaction had become very easy, and money transfer, physical money transfer was going out. So there are multiple such technologies which had come in, cloud technology, which enabled all this to happen. So online was already happening. What COVID has done is it has accelerated it. So, as per me, from going online, we are now going into a virtual world. And I'll give you an example. Nothing happened in these last 2 months which was not already available. So Zoom, we are using Zoom. We are doing this session. This session was originally planned to be done in Thai office. Okay? Zoom was already available, but we were not using Zoom. So one is us going online for e-commerce, but more important change that is happening is acceptance of virtualization. Acceptance that I actually don't. So I and Shinu madam are on a committee. It's a CII committee, a National Healthcare Committee. So we are on the regional committee, and every few months we have a meeting in Delhi. Now, when we had the meeting this time, the chairman said that this looks great. Why do we need to come every time to Delhi just for a 1 hour meeting? So everyone wastes their time comes. So this whole realization that virtualization is something which people have accepted, and in fact, virtual world has a huge amount of benefits compared to physical world. So we talk about education. Classroom education was the only thing that we knew, but now web-based education is happening. All the tutorials are happening. Everything is happening. Now that is recorded. You can have, if you have classrooms across India, let's say Resonance or any of them, then they need teachers across India. Now, if you have a virtual classroom, then you need the best teacher to be able to teach across India. So you are actually the level of teaching has gone up because you now have the best teacher. Everything is recorded. The student can play back and see it at their own time. So what basically virtualization is doing is it will improve the experience, but it has taken time for humanity to understand that. So it is not just going online, but the virtualization of the whole world, which we need to take into account when we plan new businesses. I'll just give you one last example: event industry. Rajasthan has a huge event industry. What we will see going forward is that there will be, pharmaceuticals had their conferences, but they will call in doctors, and they will have those conferences. Now they're realizing that in the online conference you can get much more doctors to come in and much better speakers to come in, because those speakers are not wasting their whole day or 2 days or 3 days to come in, fly in from Bombay to come to Jaipur. So you will actually have virtual conferences as the first preference, not as a second fiddle. And that will mean that the whole conference business will change, the event business will change. So I think online and then virtualization is what will be basically triggered or accelerated by COVID. And we need to all be aware and transform our businesses according to that.
Sir, I have a question. I wanted to understand that what are the most important things, that we must keep in mind while we are actually innovating our business model. Like the examples that we had shared, somebody had changed on the product front, somebody had worked on, the mode of delivering the service that they were already doing. So what are the parameters that we must actually, keep in mind while making this transformation?
So that's a full session that we can do on how to. So there are templates to basically define your business model. But a few things that I'll tell you. One is I'm a strong believer that every product can be made into a service. I'll give you example. Neuroequilibrium, the company that we started. We do diagnostic equipment. So we started with making diagnostic equipment. When we showed you some of them. We are making world-class diagnostic equipment for a certain ENT neurology disorders. Now, after we started doing the initial sale, we realized that these are new technologies. The doctors are not conversant with these technologies. And what we may need to do is to convert it into a service. So we set up our own clinics in hospitals across India, including Apollo, Fortis, Max, Metro, etc., and basically provide diagnostic as a service. So converting a sale of equipment to diagnostics as a service. So the first parameter I would like you to evaluate is whether you can convert it into a service. Second is the less the physical transaction is, the more it will be scalable. So if you have anything which will require people to meet, and this is pre-COVID also, there is a cost to it and it is not scalable. So you have all these platforms that have come in for education, which are basically all virtual, and those platforms have scaled up hugely, and they are much more scalable across India or across the world, like an academy and others, than physical training centers. So the second thing is that if you can delete or remove the physical transaction, they will scale up quickly. The third thing is, in any business model, you need to be aware of who your customer is. Most of the startups make this mistake of assuming that they know who the customer is, they know what the product is, they know what the product is required by the customer. We do not know. The whole purpose of a startup is, as Steve Blank said, basically to figure out what business model will work, which means that we do not know who the customer is, we do not know what service they want or what product they want. And the whole learning in terms of building a lean startup methodology to arrive at what your actual customer is. So I'll just give you an example. Let's say the OYO model, correct? The OYO model will not work for a 5-star hotel set, because those people are choosy what they want, how they want it. It'll work for a low cost business model. So, today it looks very obvious, but the day Ritesh started, it was not something obvious. They had to experiment. They had to learn what will work, what will not work. So I think in arriving at any business model, it is important that you take into account, go actually to the customer, talk to them, understand what they want, who your customer is. So you will have to go to multiple types of customers and then figure out. So I think these are the broad templates for arriving at a good business model.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
I would just like to, before the next question, I would completely agree on one, I mean, with everything, but with one point specifically, with what Mr. Bhandari has just said, that quite often I have also heard this, that the way we are going to expand businesses, we'll hire more people. It's very important to understand that as you expand your business and as you hire more people, if both of them are going to go in the same graph, then where are you going to make the money? So let's take Swiggy's example. So yes, initially Swiggy hired a lot of people because maybe there was just one order going to one restaurant. But the moment more orders started coming to one place, lesser number of people overall were required to fulfill all the orders. So after a point, the manpower that you need has to go down, and the requirement or demand has to grow in a very disproportionate way to the requirement of manpower. Because when you need a lot of manpower, as your business escalates, that means you're going to incur a lot of recurring cost. And therefore, your numbers that you project are really not going to come about to be true. So the essence of the business model has to be such that you have to understand that number one, you're not just catering to a city in the long term. You start with a city, you start with 2 cities, but your purpose is to take it exponentially big, right? To a lot of cities, because that's how your market, your number is going to grow, your revenue is going to grow. But to cater to that large demand, you cannot have the same number of, in the same ratio, the people growing as well. So how do you make your business model with the help of technology or any other platform such that this cost goes down as your revenues start going up and your market expands? So please have a look at this aspect when you look at your business model. Yes, please, next question.
Hello. Hi, sir. This is Neha from Aviatron Automations. It was really nice hearing about the 3D printing technology. Actually, we also have used 3D printing into 2 different business models. One is the manufacturing as a service, and other one is in the educational as a STEM product. We have also been doing online classes from the past 2-3 months regularly. That side of the business is fine. But I would like to know, do you think because of the COVID, the requirement of the 3D printing technology into these sectors will affect, or is this something like we should work on more, or like, in order to expand it?
Yeah, so the first comment I want to make is that I took the example of 3D printing ecosystem to explain that there could be hundreds of business models, very unique business models that could be built around a product, that a new technology that has come in. So the whole session, my purpose was not to talk about 3D printing, but to basically take 3D printing to explain that in the same domain you could have multiple kinds of business models. To answer your question on whether COVID will help expand 3D printing. So 3D printing technology and products were already accelerating at a fast pace, because it was basically entering every domain that you can think of, from fashion to medical to every domain. 3D printing was already established. You have aviation fuel turbines also built. So it was in every domain, and there are unique advantages that it had. But because very innovative business models had come in, it could actually scale up very fast. Like, you could link thousands of printers on one platform, and then you could get those service, manufacturing as a service. What COVID will do is it has highlighted certain aspects, because ventilators and others could be built on 3D printing. So it has given that unique concept. But overall, I think all such disruptive technologies will accelerate because of COVID. When any crisis happens, a lot of new technologies get accelerated, and that is what we will see during the COVID times also.
Thank you, sir.
So there is a question from Nidhi on,
Yeah.
basically when we use 3D printing, a lot of plastic we are using, and will it create a problem of plastic waste? So my answer is twofold. First is, if you see the product, so you saw the furniture. Presently, the plastic chairs are made with casting or molding, where the whole chair is made of solid plastic. You saw that using 3D printers, we can optimize and reduce the plastic. Those chairs that you saw had only 20% of the plastic used by a normal chair, but they are as strong as a normal chair, a plastic chair. So in fact, 3D printing can reduce, because it can make any shapes and sizes, it can make intricate shapes. It actually reduces the amount of plastic required for the same strength of a product. The second thing is, today in any plastic manufacturing, let's say take the case of PET bottles, the problem is not of recycling. All PET bottles can be recycled, and it's a very profitable business model. We have Gravita, who is a sponsor of Thai Rajasthan. They have plants in 16 countries recycling various things like aluminum and plastics and other things. Problem is not of recycling as a technology or recycling as a business model. The problem is of collection of waste. So you cannot blame a 3D printer for printing a product. The problem is that whatever products are produced by plastic, once they are used by consumers, the systems, in at least in the developing countries, to be able to collect them and bring them to the recycling facility is where the problem is. So once we solve that, the recycling is not a problem. So 3D printers in fact use much less plastic, compared to, there is much less wastage compared to using traditional methods of production.
Hi Rajneesh, this is Surbhi Agarwal here. I'm based out of Jodhpur. We are more into sustainable, eco-friendly products, wherein we have adopted many clusters pan-India for our recycle and other sustainable products, which is mainly into home decor and furnishing. And I have taken a undue advantage of this lockdown, wherein to pivot my business, and we were largely focusing on B2B export. Now that I want to be more inclusive and more to be implementing disruption in IT implementation, wherein I want to implement augmented reality, virtual reality, of course 3D, and make a sort of a portal wherein consumers themselves could upload their living space or kitchen space photographs, and with a plethora of interior designers and architects, they could use the desired art or um furniture to their necessity and demands. So what do you see? So this model is going to be definitely B2B to C, wherein I could also cater to domestic retail, where we see rising incomes and aspiration, of course, to decorate their abode and workspaces as well. So how do you see and foresee about this pivoting of my business?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
any pivot, we need to understand the new business or the new business model that will work. A few inputs I would like to give you in what you have explained. The first thing is that for any startup to scale up, timing is very important. So when Uber was launched in 2009, you know, there was a speech that the founder gave after about 2 years, and he said that if he had launched Uber 1 year earlier, Uber would not have succeeded, because the technologies that were required to make Uber a success were not there. You needed location technology. So today we assume all this was always there, but it was not there. the GSM tracking service, even the rating service for drivers and the passenger. Those kind of cloud technologies were not there, and so on. So one of the very important things is timing. So now I'll give you another example that Zoom was already there. Certainly we see Zoom has scaled up. Its valuation has gone off the roof, $30 billion, because it was the right technology available at the right time for us to use it because of COVID. Now, the same thing could be done, and there are at least 100 companies in the world offering virtual reality conferencing solutions, where you can wear your virtual reality and you can do a conference. You will feel as if the other person is sitting besides you or with you. There are even virtual reality startups which have, let's say you go to a virtual a music concert. You can sit, you may be sitting in different houses, but in that concert you can sit together and talk and see the concert at different angles. None of those have scaled up. And the reason is that these startups will first need the adoption of virtual reality or augmented reality at a large scale. If COVID would have happened in 2022, you would not have seen Zoom scale up, but those kind of products which were already there, everybody had a AR or a VR or a mixed reality goggle or a solution. And then these kind of need would have come in, they would have scaled up. Although that is a much better experience in terms of interactivity, you don't see it. None of those conferences or Zoom calls are happening on VR. So one of the important things is, are we ready for adoption of that technology? Now there are at least 100 startups in India that I know of, and I have seen at least 30 presentations of startups working on the same problem statement that you are giving, which is basically you give your living space and they can decorate or virtually, or they can fit in furniture or things like that. So but it is not scaling up because the underlying technology is not yet there. The cost is high, the visibility is not there. So you will have to be careful in terms of considering whether that adoption, because that adoption does not, a HTC Vive or a virtual reality handset adoption does not depend on your product. It is the other way around. So once that acceptance is there, I think your product will scale up fast.
Thank you very much.
There's one question from Ruchi Gupta, sir.
सर, आपने ऐसे बोला था कि प्रोडक्ट के लैक ऑफ प्रोडक्ट से स्टार्टअप फेल नहीं होते हैं, फेल होते हैं कि कस्टमर्स की वजह से या फिर बिजनेस प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस मॉडल. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि व्हाट वी हैव टू सी ऑन मेकिंग प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस मॉडल.
सो जैसा मैंने बोला कि टेक्नोलॉजी से बिजनेसेस नहीं बनते हैं. बिजनेसेस जो बनते हैं वो आपको पहले कस्टमर्स कैसे मिलेंगे, तो आपकी मार्केटिंग कैसे है जिससे कि आपको फर्स्ट सेट ऑफ कस्टमर्स मिलें, और वो फर्स्ट सेट ऑफ कस्टमर्स आपको आगे बढ़ने में हेल्प करेंगे. और दूसरी चीज़ है कि अगर कस्टमर्स मिल भी गए, करेक्ट, तो वो अगर पे नहीं कर रहे हैं आपको या इनफ पे नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो आप प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं होंगे. तो आप किस तरह से अपना बिजनेस मॉडल चेंज करें जिससे कि आपको ये मिल सके. तो अब मैं जैसे एग्जांपल बताता हूँ कि हमारी कंपनी में हमने ये नए डायग्नोस्टिक इक्विपमेंट बनाने चालू किए. तो क्योंकि अब डॉक्टर्स इसके बारे में अवेयर नहीं थे और पेशेंट्स भी अवेयर नहीं थे, तो हम जब बेचने गए तो बहुत ज़्यादा डॉक्टर्स लेने वाले नहीं थे. बट अब हमने उसको एक एज अ सर्विस बना दिया, जहाँ हम हर हॉस्पिटल में हमारे क्लिनिक्स खोल रहे हैं, जहाँ पे कि हम हमारे इक्विपमेंट लगा रहे हैं और वहाँ से डेटा आता है और बैकएंड में डॉक्टर्स उसको डायग्नोसिस और प्रिस्क्रिप्शन देते हैं. तो हमने उसको डायग्नोस्टिक्स एज अ सर्विस कन्वर्ट कर दिया, और क्योंकि वो कर दिया तो वो हमारे लिए रेवेन्यू सोर्स हो गया. सो आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि आप क्या अपने बिजनेस में चेंज कर सकते हैं जिससे कि वो प्रॉफिटेबल हो और फर्स्ट सेट ऑफ कस्टमर्स जल्दी आए. ज़्यादातर स्टार्टअप्स के प्रोडक्ट तो बन जाता है, बट क्योंकि उन्होंने कस्टमर से बात नहीं की हुई होती है, तो उनको एक्चुअली ये पता ही नहीं पड़ता कि कस्टमर को चाहिए क्या. और इसलिए फर्स्ट सेट ऑफ कस्टमर्स जो नहीं आते हैं. So there is a question from Hita.
Sabira. Yeah.
Yeah. You have said that business, event business will change, which will definitely change after COVID and for few years. Believing that it can be service industry, can you please suggest what can be done with this business, or it needs to be changed completely in line? So one thing is events will always happen. People will, the need for event is not going away. If there is a conference to be done, those conferences will be done. If there is a doctor's conference or any kind of event, that will happen. So like we said, basically wine tasting events were happening, those kind of events will happen. So people fundamentally will not change in terms of requirement of events, but the kind of events that will happen will be very different, because people cannot meet and not in large numbers. People will be afraid to travel for a long time. They will not feel the need to travel. So you will see virtual events happening, and when virtual events start happening, there will be a permanent change in customer behavior, where the customers or the people who were paying will feel that online or virtual was much better than the going. So I have gone to a few conferences in US for 3 days, 4 days. Those conferences this year happened virtual, and they were much better. You could actually interact with people. So there'll be personas that will be made. So like Second Life was one game that had come out. So there'll be platforms which will allow people to interact with one another on the virtual world as if it was real. So all that will start happening. That adoption will be much quicker, and so events will become virtual, and that will not change even if tomorrow the vaccine comes and people start saying, okay, now we can travel. The virtualization is something which people have got used to. Correct. I'll give you an example that Uber, when it came, they were charging 1/5 of what they are charging today, 1/4 to 1/5 of what they are charging today, and they were paying to drivers 400 rupees per drive. So they were charging from you, let us say 30 rupees, they were paying to the driver 400 rupees. Driver got hooked on to them. You have millions of drivers in India on Uber and Ola, and we got hooked on. Now they have raised, if 6 years back whatever you are paying, you are now paying at least 3 to 4 times of that for the same distance, and the drivers are getting only 20% of what you get. So from 400 rupees, now if your bill is 100 rupees, they will get 20 rupees. But still the whole ecosystem has changed and you can't go back. So there is a permanent change of customer behavior that will happen. The event industry will become more and more virtual, and that is something that is there to stay, even if things get normal in, let's say, 6 months' time. Because people would have seen the value of virtualization.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions, please?
Yeah, hi, if I may ask. First of all, it was a great session. You can say, as a woman, too busy with work and kids and home and everything, so I was not aware of the so many upcoming technologies and so much of growth in the entire world. So I'm so thankful to you for giving so much of information and insights into new building businesses. I just wanted to ask, as I'm running a preschool, and as we all know, preschool caters services to toddlers aging between 2 to 5. And in the coming months, there is no chance that any parent would agree to send their little ones due to this COVID-19 risk factor to the school. So online schooling is going on, but as we are already running under Eurokids International, it's a franchise model. What business model changes can I bring in my business?
So one of the things, as mentor, I always say is that we are there to ask the right questions for you to frame your strategy, because if we start framing your strategy, then you are again getting fixed at a certain kind of direction. So that said, I will try to give you some examples of how you could think. So one of the things that people have done is, you take the case of, let's say, CureFit, which is a gym, correct? Very similar business model or a very similar problem statement. People going to gym to do classes, and children coming to school, and now they have converted it into virtual. Online classes and virtualization may be slightly different. Where can you, through the same online class, how do you provide interactivity? So one is, you are teaching, correct? So teaching is easy to do online, but can you create interactive models where children can interact with each other online? Of course, there will be issues of screen time, so you need to be careful of that. But if you have more interactivity online, that is what will be a new business model, not just teaching. Uh, there can you develop certain, so there are companies which have developed certain kits, which can be sent to children to play with, which are also connected virtually, for them to interact with their peers or their friends, and allow that to happen. So multiple such, there are apps for adults, where, so if a company used to have offsite, where the employees could go out of office and then interact, right? Now that is all possible on certain apps, where they will have adult means company games and corporate games, where the people can interact and learn from each other. So you will have to see whether you can create that kind of interactivity between children. The other is, let's say you have premises, correct, where you are running the school. Now, a lot of companies have converted their premises to be used for very different purposes. So it is not necessary that a school building has to run a school only, correct? You could have other things run from that. So you may have to look at whether you want to, run online schools, whether you want to do, make them into call centers or any other thing. So I think COVID is a time when we need to relook at our business in a fundamental manner and in a dispassionate manner, to be able to come up with solutions in the medium term. If we have fixed ideas, we will get fixed solutions. If we are open to a total, rethinking of our businesses, I think we will do much better in these times. So Bawal, can we now close, or do you have more questions?
Yeah, I think we're not getting any more questions now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for being on this call. It was good to interact. Thanks, Shinu.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bawal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Before you close, so all of you, we loved having you here, and this was just the second of the series, although a very, very important one. We will soon be announcing the next session. Be prepared. When you're in touch with other people who could not join in today, please let them know. This is all being done so that we can turn a new leaf in Rajasthan regarding women entrepreneurship. And I really look forward to seeing all of you in the next session, which Pavel is going to announce shortly on the social media.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.